In the words of one of my favorite people, hey y'all, hey. I hope that you're having a lovely day. I promise that pretty soon we are going to get off of this starting and shifting, pivoting content and lessons learned and mistakes and all of that stuff. And we are going to get into really practical stuff about running a business, but I've been working through a lot of things. And so you're getting kind of a bird's eye view of me working through all of my shit. um, I have debated all morning. It's 12:01 right now, and I've debated all morning about whether or not I wanted to make this video. And the answer is I do. And here's why. I think that we've talked a lot about the boxes that the world puts us in and how we shouldn't allow that to happen, but we also really, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the boxes that we put ourselves in. Um, wow, my eyebrows are looking really dark today, and I have no idea why, because sometimes they look blonde, and apparently in this light they do not. Um, they literally look like I drew them on, and I didn't. I have no makeup on, because I don't really do makeup every day. So I have been dealing for the last while since I started my business with a fear of success and a fear of failure. And when you have both of those things, it's a real big problem. I have failed a whole bunch, so I no longer really fear failure so much as I fear success and what that would mean for me, what that would look like for me and my family and all the things. And realistically, right now, in this time and space, the entire reason I started a business was to be able to be at home and be a parent with my kid. And he's in school now. He's going to be starting junior high and have clubs and all of those things and be really, really busy. And so I'm finding myself being more and more open to the idea of if I could still be able to go pick my kid up and take him to the school that he goes to, because he does not go to the school near our house. As long as I have the freedom to still do those things, I could work outside the house. The other big factor of why I've had or wanted remote work for the longest time is that I get severe migraines, and it takes months after COVID for me not to have a migraine almost every day. Like, I have the beginnings of one right now. And there are some days that they are so bad that I have to shut all of the blinds and not look at a computer and lay down. Or I can look at the computer, but I need to be like horizontal and laying on the couch. Or I need to take a nap at 10 because my head hurts so bad I want to throw up. And so that's been a huge factor for me. All that to say, if I could get medication for that and still be, again, flexible enough to be where I need to be the parent that I want to be, then I'm all for helping somebody else, or working for someone else for probably a lot more money than I'm currently making on my own. But that is about to change, and that leads us into what we're talking about today. So, let me state really clearly that I am not a trained therapist. I am not a trained coach. I am not trauma informed other than my own trauma and having conversations with other people who have trauma. But they are conversations. I am in no way trying to coach them, and in no way trying to help them. I am not doing that for you. This is literally me talking from my own personal experience, and you should consult a licensed therapist who is trauma informed if you have trauma. Because if you just pick a random therapist, you might find somebody like I did years ago who was not trauma informed and had made me doubt myself and really set me back many, many years by telling me, I'm pretty sure if that had happened to you, you would remember it. So sometimes with PTSD, especially things that happened as a child, um, and even as an adult, it wouldn't be until I met my husband, who is a war veteran, who has PTSD with memory loss attached. It wouldn't be until then that I would realize that I was not making stuff up, that I was really having this problem. So, with that in mind, this fear of being seen has always, for me, we're going to talk about self-imposed boxes, right? And things that were designed by our brain to protect us, not from the lion or the bear, but from others who might hurt us in the same way that we were hurt when we were little or younger, or even older, um, for many people, because sometimes it's not until you're adult that you have one of these situations and it still impacts you in a very similar way. One thing that I did many years ago during a particularly rough time for my mental health was confront certain, not confront, but interact with myself at the different stages in which I was terrified and traumatized. And I had, by the time I was 12 years old, I had 12 surgeries, 4 of them being major medical procedures. The other 8 were tubes in my ears every summer, starting from the age of 4 or 5, maybe 6. I don't know. I had them 8 times. And at that time, they did not have tubes that were forever tubes like they have now. That last set I got lasted until I was like 18 or 19, and then it finally fell out. The major medical procedures were very large, long procedures. I could have died. Anytime you go under, you could die, but these were me being under for 3 to 4 hours, while they did reconstructive type surgeries. Okay. My first one was at 3 months old, and then carried on forward. That, along with the other things, that happened when I was 5 or 6, caused some pretty severe, blockages in wanting to be seen, not to mention the fact all teasing and the bullying that I received as a child, as a teenager into high school, for my life. Being called Miss Piggy and so many other things. Like, I just can't. Kids are awful. Children are horrific, awful, awful creatures. And their parents, my parents, didn't confront anybody and tell them not to. They just told me to ignore it, or and that wasn't helpful either, because it didn't stop the bullying. So all of these things led to a fear of being noticed, because when I got noticed, I got ridiculed and picked on and or abused in some cases. And so there was a very small part of me that it has really tried very hard not to get noticed, and has said, even though my I want to have a business. I want to do well. I want to have clients. I want all of these things for myself. I want to help people, right? The entire concept of all of those things. You need to get in front of people, and you need to continue getting in front of people, and you need to not be afraid to get in front of people. And realistically, as much as I love YouTube and it has been an outlet for me, and as much as my podcast was an outlet for me, I also didn't do a really good job of promoting any of those things because I was terrified of getting noticed and what that might mean. And so I unlocked. So the other thing that happened, right, is I've tried several different ways of knocking those doors, trying to desperately to knock down those doors and get out of that box of being scared. And I've tried bullying myself out of it. I've tried just ramming into the door. I imagine it as a room and or a crate, but really a room. And there's a door handle, there's a lock on that door, there is a very small child in there, and she's terrified. And she keeps pulling on my shirt and on my arm, saying, "No, please don't do that. It's not safe out there." Um, and I'm not saying that I've completely fixed the problem there. But I think we've made progress for sure. I have at least figured out why the door is locked. And I want to say that some of this has come from, um, so this was the memory loss part. And in 2016 or 17, can't remember, I think it might be 16. I had a client who had I've talked about her before. She had a really intense, beautiful program that was designed to help you move through your stuff to be able to be a good leader. And she wanted me to go through her program and look at it so that I would know her body of work. What I did not, and I should preface that my home life at the time was uh, extremely traumatic. And I don't want to go into detail with that, but we'll just say my PTSD and my husband's combat PTSD were in full bloom. And his in particular was exceedingly bad. And so, and he made too much for me to get any help with my mental health. And I made too little to be able to pay for mental health help. Um, and so I was left to kind of navigate all of that by myself. And the memories that I had little tiny flashes of were coming at a more rapid pace. And what this program that my client had developed did was unlock more of that. And so now I have this, my own PTSD, and now it's enhanced. And my husband's PTSD on 11, and I'm not in a good place. Thankfully, we are both much better now, but that was a bad, bad time. And the client's work was so beautiful and so amazing and just an impressive body of work. I highly, highly recommend. If you are needing something like that, Amanda Fleming is her name. She is in New Zealand and she is incredible. And I highly, highly recommend her program called The Accelerator. I believe that she has a program called, she has 2 books, and one of them is I Can Speak Clearly Now, and I highly recommend reading that before doing the accelerator. And I believe she's turning that into an online program, and she hasn't completed it already. I would do that online program before you do the accelerator because it's a really nice little gentle wading in the water before you jump in the deep end. But I jumped in full-fledged deep end. This was also when I was realizing that my son was on the autism spectrum, and things were, so it was just like an all-around clusterfuck of a time in my life. And again, we didn't have the money to get him diagnosed. We didn't have the money to get him support. And in fact, I did try. And the state of Utah denied us because he didn't need to see enough specialists. So that was fun. So he just hasn't gotten that. I would love to be able to help all of us in the future, but right now, this is where we are. And this is where we've been. So all of that gets unlocked. My brain goes into overdrive and I don't know how to get out of it. And so I sink deeper and deeper into a hole and a depression that nearly takes my life for the second time. And somehow, some way, I fight through that and don't end up doing that. And yeah, we buy this house that we're in now, and everything starts to get better. I mean, my sister-in-law died, and that really shook us both to our core. I'm pretty sure my husband would be dead had that not happened. So there's that. So over the last 5 years or so, I've had to kind of work through all of that on my own, slowly, as much as I can. Sometimes pushing really, really hard to heal, and then recognizing that I actually wasn't really getting too far with that process, and it would be better and easier if I just let things come to me, and then I could truly properly heal them, rather than constantly trying to force myself to get into that place and get it over with, because that's what I was trying to do, is just get it over with. I think with the help of a therapist, that would have gone much faster. But that is what it is, and here we are. The memories started to come back a little bit more. I still don't have faces. I don't have names. I just know what happened, and I know where it happened. And realistically, those pieces of the puzzle didn't come together until about 8 months ago. And I was having a panic attack, and I remembered my very first panic attack. And it was at the age of 13. And we discovered a room in my church that I didn't know. I thought it was just a closet. And we were 13 and left alone in a giant building with someone there. And on our break, we all went discovering, as one does as a teenager. And we found a bedroom above the kitchen. And I didn't even know that that room existed. Again, memory loss. And then I remember falling out of the room and running and hiding under a tree that I used to hide in when I was a child, and having a panic attack at night alone under this giant pine tree with a secret entrance kind of thing. It wasn't very secret, but you couldn't tell anybody was in there unless you like ducked your head under and looked. So, it was a lot. And I forgot about that even until about 6 months ago. And that was just like another lock on the door unlocked, you know? And go, okay, well, the chances of this happening to me again are slim to none. Not non-existent, but very, very slim. So what I was doing is basically reassuring that small child that it's okay to be seen. It's okay to let people see me occasionally. It's okay. I have protections. I have ways to protect myself now that I didn't have then. It's okay. So it's about reassuring yourself and speaking to that small human. For me has been super duper helpful. Again, this is not a therapy session. Please go get therapy. But this has been something that's been dramatically helpful for me and life-changing. And then last night, another piece of that puzzle unlocked, and another part of that particular puzzle unlocked in a really big way. And it was as if the final lock on the door had been unlocked. And I felt the release of the door. And um, yeah, it's safe. It's safe for me to to talk to people and to gain clients and to get in rooms where decisions are made and people are where I want to be in the room where it happens, you know what I mean? To quote one of my favorite musicals of all time, I want to be in the room where it happens. And again, as I have started to reclaim these dreams that I had at 17 of building, I had a whole plan. I had a whole plan. I thought about this last night. This is what kind of started it all. It's like, how did this happen? And then I went through the whole gambit and was like, oh, okay, now I understand where I got derailed here. Um, I was going to graduate college. I was going to move to Destin, Florida, which I did. I was going to do 2 years of college in Destin to get all of my prereqs done and most of my gen eds done. I was going to then and establish my residency the first year. The second year was just to finish the gen eds on a much cheaper level. Then I was going to go to Florida State University for advertising. I was going to graduate with a bachelor's in advertising. I was going to go and live in some big city like New York or Chicago or California or somewhere warm, hell, Miami, or stay right where I was in Florida. And I was going to own an ad agency and employ anywhere from 8 to 30 people. I had a whole plan. And for the second time in my life, somebody who I probably more than that, to be honest with you, someone I was supposed to love and trust, and he was supposed to protect me, abused that trust and that love and sexually abused me. And it completely, totally derailed me in the most intense way. And so I moved back to Indiana, or I moved to Indiana, went to IU for 2 years, had a nervous breakdown. I had to move home. And then had another nervous breakdown, ended up in therapy, almost ended up with this terrible therapist, almost ended up hospitalized. And yeah, um, I don't think that people quite understand what it means to have someone who you are supposed to love and trust, and who is supposed to love, trust, and protect more than anything you, um, completely abuse that trust. And yeah, it rocks you. It literally shatters every foundation that you have for love and trust in other human beings. And hell, yourself, right? Thankfully, I managed that situation really, really well, and I kept myself from being alone in the place with him. But I worked with him. I worked in their shop, and so I had to see him every day, and I had to continue working. And what's wild about the whole thing is that when I started, the girl I was replacing said, "You need to be very careful with him." And I kind of looked at her like, "What?" And she said, "You need to be very, very careful with him. You will probably be fine because you're related to him, but I would be very, very careful. And I would not allow yourself to be alone in the building with him." And sure enough, first time I'm alone with him, everything goes to hell. Um, and thankfully, I was very bright. And as soon as there was a break in the conversation, he went to the bathroom, I gathered all my shit and I ran out of there. Um, so that, because I'm pretty sure had I stayed, I would have been raped. I am 100% sure of that because that's where things were going. Um, yeah. And then for the next 6 to 8 months, because I didn't want to get another job and then move, because that all happened right after. I was thinking about moving back closer to home, and then that happened, and it solidified my decision to get the hell out of there. Um, Over the next 6 to 8 months, he would touch me and slap me and grope me and all the things and say things. um, Rub himself on me and things of that nature. So it was not good and very, very bad and really derailed every plan that I had for my life. Um, is he solely responsible for where I am now? Absolutely not. I am. I'm gonna take my power back and say that that was definitely me. Um, but I refuse to let that continue. And I read something the other day that amused the absolute piss out of me. It said that um, this lady was talking about a dating group, and she said that the group that she was in, which she quickly left, the admin said that the men in the group were very intimidated to ask women out because of the Me Too movement. I can't make it up. And my response to that was that if the Me Too movement ruined dating for you, you weren't doing it correctly in the first place. Just saying. So, if that's how you feel about dating and the Me Too movement, or working, or hiring women, or hiring people in general, you probably were doing it wrong to begin with. Just gonna throw that out there. Anyway, um, this went deeper than I thought it would, and I hope that I didn't trigger anyone. If I did, I apologize. If you have a story like this and you feel called or would like to share in comments, by all means, please do that. And I hope that you all have a great day. And I hope that this, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, helps you figure out what is causing you to be afraid of success, what's causing you to be afraid of fear, or I'm sorry, afraid to be seen, and maybe leads you down the path to go, huh, maybe I need to seek therapy to get some help with this. I would love that for everyone. Um, I would very much love universal health care so that we can all get the mental health help that we need. Um, between the pelvic floor help and the mental health help, we all need that as women. So, have a lovely day. And again, I am so sorry if I triggered you. That was definitely not my intent. Um, yeah, I hope this was helpful. We are going to get onto some awesome content like how to use a ClickUp as a CRM, how to build the back-end systems of your business. I'm currently working on some digital products that are going to help you manage your clients and manage your business, and that is what we are doing. So I hope that you have a lovely day. I'll talk to you all later. See ya. Bye.